Hey there, welcome back to High Infidelity, the best channel for cheating stories. Like and subscribe to channel for more spicy stories. Now, let's get into today's story video. I had a revenge affair after I suspected my wife of having a second affair. People expect me to feel remorse. I really don't. I met my then future wife 10 years ago, and we began dating soon after. We were both around 15 years old at the time. Our relationship was usually fantastic. We only had little squabbles and disagreements, nothing major. Looking back, I see that I was always the one that put in the most effort and started most things. From communication to date planning to and more. I'd be the one to suggest and schedule dates, to send her messages first, to reach out and strike up discussions. We had many times a week to several times a day, so our life wasn't horrible. I was the one that was always up for trying out new and unusual things. She was a little more reserved. She adored giving me oral but would never do it herself since it was filthy and unpleasant. I've always been the one who earned more money and was more financially successful. She had always chosen to follow her interests, family, and swiftly slipped into a housewife pattern of her own choosing, to the point that she would finally only work part-time. This is not to imply she was a gold digger, quite the contrary. I believe she simply thought she'd settled. I used to have very horrible acne, had my dental work done late, and wasn't in as excellent of condition as I could have been. I had no idea since she never displayed any symptoms of it. She met a man at the gym around 5 years into our relationship and 1 year into our marriage. She maintains they were simply pals at first. We used to work out together and speak a lot. We used to communicate online, and we even went out to eat. I was absolutely unaware of this new buddy and had no reason to suspect anything. She went on a weekend excursion with pals a few months into this. I had to pay for her portion of the trip. She left on a Friday and returned on Saturday. She told me she had a falling out with the buddy she'd gone on vacation with. She had been sad all day, had retreated within herself, and had begun to weep numerous times. At this time, I was primarily concerned about her and had no reason to suspect anything. She soon burst into tears and admitted to me that she had cheated on me. It took me a while to absorb what she had just said and done, and I was numb for the first few minutes. When I awoke from my coma, I felt like someone had sledgehammered a sledgehammer into my heart. I fled the room and puked many times before breaking down and wailing like a baby. She said that she didn't intend for it to happen, and that it was an accident. She couldn't stop herself because she felt such a strong desire, such a profound connection. However, when she awoke in the morning following their first night together, she understood what she had done. That he didn't care about her, didn't love her, and was just interested in her for her money, and that she didn't love or care about him either, and that it had been a fleeting infatuation. To make matters worse, she confessed to doing things with him that she had always refused to do with me, since emasculating me by having an affair evidently wasn't enough. I had loved her from the day we met, and I had always felt pleased that our relationship had survived storms when others had failed. My family adored her, and my friends admired her. I'd always been told how fortunate I was, and I'd boasted about having such a beautiful girlfriend and, subsequently, wife. All this time, I tried my best to lavish her with love, to surprise her with presents, and to let her know how much she meant to me. I would do all I could to ensure she always came first for me, that I was prepared to give her oral because she loved it, and that she did not reciprocate. For me, her joy was always paramount. Anger and despair were soon to follow. I'd shout at her while tears streamed down my cheeks. I asked her why she did it, how she could do this to me, and did she still love me. Her response was that she didn't know why, that she had been weak and had been engrossed in the moment. She urged me to forgive her and give her another opportunity. She was very honest with me and immediately departed the gym, which turned out to be needless since, when I attempted to confront him, I discovered that he had also bailed. She confessed to both my parents and her father having died some years before, and I tried my best to move on. Soon after, we scheduled marital counseling and began individual treatment. In moments of rage, I would sometimes strike out verbally rather than physically, calling her names and other derogatory terms. For the most part, she accepted it readily. Just a few times did she answer in kind, assuring me that she would take me for all I was worth, and that no other woman would ever love me. My and her parents both attempted all they could to keep me in this relationship. Back then, I mistakenly assumed that at the very least, my parents would have my best interests at heart. They informed me that errors occurred, but that we could overcome them and develop as a marriage and as individuals. Despite everything, she loved me. It took me months to get beyond this, for the rage and disgust to fade. I never loved her the same way I did before, but I grew to like this new person, or so I thought. She was prepared to go to any length to help us recover and make it work. Following her outbursts, she signed a post-nuptial arrangement in my favor, forsaking almost all of my assistance. She took the initiative a lot more, and our life really improved as a result. After that, I was hesitant to give her an oral. I was appalled by the concept itself. We've always put each other first in almost everything. She then had unprotected intercourse with the AP. Despite how much she enjoyed it before, she never complained. She was also ready to do a lot more things with me now, which she later explained when I asked her if I was that repulsive to her or why she was willing to do these things with him. The fact that she wasn't with me profoundly wounded her, and she wanted to make amends. We were truly happy for a few years. I began going to the gym on a daily basis, and other issues I had, such as acne, went away on their own. As time passed, I stopped checking in on her and ceased accusing her of wrongdoing. She seldom goes out on her alone anymore, and when she does, it's generally with common friends. Everything was perfect, or so I thought until about a year ago. After a reorganization at work, I met a female coworker. We hit it off right away, had similar interests, and got along beautifully. We would exchange texts, stay later at work to talk, and do other things. I had no intention of taking this somewhere inappropriate at this time. I'm not sure why, but the interaction I was having with this coworker brought out a lot of past resentment, suspicion, and hatred. I did all I could to forgive and forget. But I never got over it. If I could control myself, if I could keep things from spiraling out of control, why couldn't she? The fact that she seemed to face no repercussions for her actions, and that everyone who knew her had so quickly forgiven her, fueled my animosity. I began to check on her again. I examined call logs and messages, and lo and behold, I discovered precisely what I expected to see at this point. While I was at work, I received a flood of calls from a man I had considered one of my closest friends up until this point. I was furious at first and had half a mind to kick her out of the home, but then I just went cold. I discovered that I didn't care anymore, that discovering this in one fell swoop erased whatever affection or residual relationship I still had for her. The next day, I met with the coworker and began my own romance. It was therapeutic, and it assisted me in shedding a weight on my mind and mental health that I was unaware of. I was happier and more liberated than I had been in years. I also contacted a divorce lawyer soon after. At this time, all I wanted to do was get out. I stayed out more and more, didn't bother making excuses, and avoided my wife as much as I could. There was no way she would notice, and I can honestly say I didn't care. It took her a week to muster up the nerve to approach me and inquire what was going on. At that time, I admitted my guilt. I informed her that I was aware of the phone calls. I informed her I knew she hadn't told me about her secret communication with him. I told her I suspected she was having another affair or was planning one. Then I informed her about my own affair in great detail. As horrific as that may seem, seeing her in the same pain and crushing her in the same manner she had previously crushed me felt liberated. She started to scream and howl. She puked in the living room. She yelled first, then apologized. She insisted that it wasn't like that. She hadn't had an affair with him. That they were preparing a surprise birthday celebration for me. Then she did something unexpected, particularly after I informed her I wanted a divorce and had my own affair. She begged me to remain with her, to try to make this work, and she told me she loved me more than anybody else. At that moment, I just left and went to a hotel. I've severed all communication with her and refused to recognize her existence. That's how it was 2 weeks ago, because her mom lives over 500 miles away. She is currently residing with my parents of all people. Other individuals, common friends, relatives, and even my parents have sent me messages. From begging with me to contact her to threatening and demeaning me. From telling me she's suicidal, hardly eating, and determined to make this work no matter what, to demanding I ask forgiveness for my misdeeds. My parents were the only people with whom I had direct contact, whom I have subsequently lost all regard for. My own mother had at least 3 affairs, all of which my father has forgiven her for. That might have been one of the reasons my mother, in particular, sided with her all those years ago. They're upset at me for doing this to her, for not behaving as a man should, for avoiding my duties and hurting my wife in this manner. My mother informed me she's going to take care of her for me until I come to my senses, as if my desire for her return is a given, and she's a little fluffy animal that others must care for. They and others have also backed up her statements about why she secretly contacted others, including a former buddy. I have a hard time believing any of them since their reactions to her and my affair are polar opposites. On the bright side, I've discovered that she was incorrect when she said that no one else would desire me. I've seen the other lady 3 times since then and had 2 casual. I guess I'm not that ugly after all.